After 10 years, a millionaire discovered a heartwarming secret. Little girl's tearful wish revealed. Jack Thompson squinted against the sun as he drove into Maplewood, memories flooding back with every familiar street he passed. He had escaped this small town, transforming from an awkward boy who worked odd jobs into a self-made millionaire. But nothing could prepare him for the sight that met his eyes. Storefronts once filled with vibrant colors now stood silent and dark. Homes he had known, once bursting with laughter and life, were in disrepair. He felt an ache in his chest, a pain not just for the town but for the people who still called it home. At the diner, old friends greeted him with mixed emotions. As Jack laughed and reminisced over a slice of pie, he overheard a conversation that made his stomach drop. The community center, the heart of Maplewood, was on the brink of foreclosure. It was more than a building. It had provided warmth, safety, and hope for so many, especially for families like Emily S. Emily, with her messy brown hair and eyes that sparkled with a kind of hope not yet dimmed by the world, reminded Jack of his younger self. From his booth, he watched her swing alone outside the center, tears tracing her cheeks as she whispered a wish. "I just want my friends and family to have a place where we can feel safe and loved." Jack's heart twisted at her innocence, and a flood of memories washed over him, endless summer days spent at that very center, where laughter eclipsed troubles. He couldn't just sit back and do nothing. But as he stepped in, ready to rally the community for a fundraiser, the weight of doubt settled heavily. Some old friends welcomed him, but others looked on with skepticism. Whispers of money can't solve everything echoed around him. Jack felt their challenges like stones binding him to the ground. He was no longer just Jack, the kid they remembered. He was a millionaire, a stranger in their eyes. Embracing the painful nostalgia of his roots, he took a deep breath. This was more than about him. It was about Emily, families like hers, and the future of Maplewood. He envisioned a fundraiser, a way to rally support. But would people trust him after so much time? In their eyes, he wore the chains of wealth that often separated rather than united. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined, Jack began organizing meetings, reaching out to old friends and local skeptics alike. As voices once silenced by hardship started to rise, children's laughter echoed through the town. A feeling of unity began to blossom, a flicker of hope in the dim air. Yet, just as things seemed to be shifting for the better, a startling revelation shook the very foundation of his past, a family secret that could change everything he knew about himself and his ties to Maplewood. With the fundraiser drawing closer, Jack found himself racing against time, fighting not just for the center, but for the very essence of the community. Would he confront the ghosts of his past and mend the frayed ties that bound him to Maplewood, or would this quest expose too many wounds? The clock was ticking, and amid a whirlwind of emotions and revelations, one question loomed larger than the rest. Could he truly unite the town before it faded into memory? And would Emily's tearful wish ever be fulfilled? Jack stood at the community center, the air thick with expectation. Posters for the fundraiser fluttered in the mild breeze, each one a beacon of hope and a reminder of his own insecurities. Local kids darted around, laughter spilling into the streets. But it didn't ease the knot tightening in his stomach. He couldn't ignore the whispers still echoing in his mind. Money can't solve everything. He paced the cracked pavement, pondering how to convince the town that he wasn't just a wealthy outsider anymore. Days of collaboration with Emily and her small band of friends had reignited his childhood aspirations, but doubt lingered. Could he really make a difference? As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, the first community meeting would begin soon. Jack had invited everyone, every skeptical face, every old friend, and even those who had changed so much they were barely recognizable. He wanted a chance to show them that he still cared, that Maplewood would always hold a piece of his heart, When the doors opened, the room filled slowly. Nervous chatter floated in the air, but as people took their seats, an awkward silence settled over the crowd. Jack cleared his throat, heart hammering. "I know I'm not the same kid who left this town," he began, looking into familiar faces filled with uncertainty. "But I want to help bring our community back. The center is more than just bricks and mortar, it's a place where memories were made." Some nodded, but many just sat quietly, arms crossed, eyes downcast. A few whispered among themselves, and Jack could feel the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. Just as he was about to stumble through another line, a tiny voice spoke from the back of the room. It was Emily, innocent and brave. "I think we need this place," she declared, her wide eyes sparkling with passion. "Without it, people like me don't have anywhere to go." Her words pierced through the tension like sunlight breaking the clouds, illuminating their hearts with the simple truth: community mattered. Jack met Emily's gaze, so filled with need and hope, and suddenly he felt a surge of determination. "We can come together," he urged. "I'm not here to just throw money at a problem. I want to invest in our future, but I need your support." Gradually, hands began to raise. Suggestions flowed: bake sales, raffles, games. A vision of the community center alive with activity began to take shape in their minds. Jack's heart swelled with the energy rippling through the room, and for the first time since his return, he felt that he belonged. But as eyes sparkled and laughter filled the air, a wave of uncertainty crashed over him again. He still hadn't revealed the family secret that could change everything. Would they still rally around him once the truth came out? Would they see him for who he was now, or would they only remember the boy who ran away? With every cheer and every excited chatter, he felt the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. Would he crash beneath it all, or could he choose courage when the moment came? The clock was ticking, each tick reminding him that sooner or later, secrets wanted to see the light. As they wrapped up the meeting, he had to keep reminding himself, this was the first step. But what would happen when it was time for the next one? Could he face the truth without losing the newfound hope in Maplewood? The next day dawned with a soft light spilling through Jack's window. He wiped away the remnants of sleep and took a deep breath. Today, he felt lighter, buoyed by the previous night's hopeful energy. But as he sipped coffee alone in his kitchen, the face of Emily danced in his mind. She had laid bare the town's longing for connection, but now Jack wanted to ensure that sincere hopes didn't crumble under the weight of his hesitations. He stepped outside, ready to face the world. The community center loomed ahead, inviting yet daunting. He had spent hours planning how to transform it, but now needed the courage to tell his story. Each step toward the building was like walking into a storm, anticipation and dread intertwining in his chest. As he approached the center, familiar faces appeared, filling him with a mix of anxiety and nostalgia. Sarah, the librarian, paused in mid-conversation and waved, her smile warm but her eyes searching. Jack felt the weight of the past on him. Memory stirred silly games in the park, wrestling with friends, and a lifetime of hope tied to this very ground. The moment passed, and soon he was back in the main hall. The decor had changed slightly since the last time he was here, with new paint on the walls and flyers for upcoming events. Jack could hear laughter and chatter in the conference room, where he planned to host a brainstorming session. As he set up the projector, he couldn't shake the feeling that his heart was still firmly anchored to yesterday's secrets. Emily arrived, bounding through the door, her energy unmistakable. "Are we going to make magic happen today?" she asked, excitement dancing in her eyes. Jack smiled back, her innocence a reminder of the very thing that sparked his resolve. "Let us hope so." When more townsfolk trickled in, the room pulsated with a gentle buzz. Jack scanned the crowd, folks he had grown up with now sharing stories and laughter. But there in the corner sat Ted, a once friend turned distant. Ted was eyeing Jack as if testing the waters, trying to gauge if he really belonged. "Good morning, everyone," Jack finally greeted, his voice steady and warm. "I know today is about more than just fundraising, it's about reconnecting our hearts. Let us dive into new ideas, but first." He clenched the edge of the podium, the moment of truth looming over him. "I need to share something important." Silence enveloped the room, each person leaning in, curious and expectant. Jack's heart raced. This was the moment he dreaded. Confessions felt like bricks threatening to tumble down upon him. "I haven't been honest fully about why I'm back," he started, feeling the heat of honesty take the stage. "My family's wealth comes from something darker than you may know. My father, he left us with a legacy that has haunted me for years." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. He met Ted's gaze, the challenge there. "I ran away from this town because I was ashamed, but I can't let that shame dictate the future. I want to earn your trust, not just through money, but with my actions and heart." Jack paused, the vulnerability hanging heavy. Would they understand? Would they still accept him after learning the truth? Pressure coiled tighter around his chest as fear pressed against his better judgment. "I believe we can reshape this community together. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to show you the truth of who I am." The words slipped out, almost pleading. A few seconds dragged on like hours until Emily stood up, a beacon of courage in the sea of doubts. "I believe in you, Jack," she proclaimed fiercely, her small stature a giant contrast to the weight of her declaration. Jack's voice cracked, emotions swelling. "Thank you, Emily. That means the world." Seeing some smiles around the room began to lift the fog of worry. Yet deep inside, the knowledge that he might still lose everything felt insistent. As discussions resumed, Jack realized that maybe this community's acceptance didn't lie solely in his wealth or past. But perhaps, just perhaps, acceptance hinged on that moment of vulnerability, the real connection forged through honesty. Could one heartfelt moment change everything? As the laughter returned and ideas flowed freely again, a nagging thought tugged at him. Could he face the shadow of his family's legacy without losing all the trust he had just begun to build? The ticking clock reminded him that much lay ahead and the truth was still waiting to be revealed. Would he be strong enough to change not just himself, but the very fabric of Maplewood? Jack felt a rush of relief as laughter and chatter filled the room again, but the nagging thought wouldn't let him go. He was standing on fragile ground, and every moment felt like a test. As ideas bounced around the conference room, he caught sight of Ted again. The once friend's gaze was still sharp, weighing Jack's every word and move. Jack swallowed hard, a wave of determination washing over him. "Let us break into groups," he suggested, trying to steer the focus back to the business at hand. "We can brainstorm different community projects that matter to all of us." There was an eager energy in the participants, and soon the room broke into clusters of voices, animated discussions pulsing like a heartbeat. However, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of being trapped between two worlds. He watched as Emily animatedly spoke to a group. Her enthusiastic gestures echoed her faith in him. Did she know how significant her encouragement was? As he made his way to a group discussing a local art fair, Sarah's gentle hand found his arm. "Hey, Jack," she said softly, her voice a calming anchor. "I don't know if you realize how important what you did was. We've all carried our stories and burdens, and being honest takes a lot of courage." "Thanks, Sarah," he replied, relieved yet nervous. "I hope it meant something." "It meant everything," she assured him, her smile genuine. "We're behind you." Encouraged by her words, Jack felt a stronger sense of purpose. The ideas shared within the room began to take on a life of their own, plans to enhance the park, restore the historical library, and even create a mentorship program for the town's youth. Seeing the community rally together filled him with a genuine warmth. But just as the atmosphere grew hopeful, the door creaked open. In walked a figure he hadn't expected, a tall man with an assertive presence and dark sunglasses that hid his eyes. Jack's heart sank as recognition hit him like a wave. It was his father's old business partner, Derek, a man he thought he had seen the last of. "Jack, good to see you back," Derek called out, his tone a mix of casual politeness and veiled menace. The chatter quieted, and all eyes shifted toward Derek. "What are you doing here?" Jack's voice shook slightly. Memories surged, the manipulations, the legacy that haunted him. "I came to check on things," Derek replied, leaning casually against the doorframe. "You know, see if you're still just playing house with your little community game." A murmur spread among the crowd, The tone of the atmosphere twisted from hopeful to tense. Jack could feel his pulse quicken. He'd worked so hard to breathe life back into this community, and yet, here was a reminder of the past he had tried to escape. Jack's here to do good, Ted spoke up, surprising everyone, including Jack. We're all part of this, and he deserves a chance. Jack turned, warmth flooding through him at Ted's words. This isn't a game. It's a chance, Jack responded, finding strength in camaraderie. We don't need your approval, Derek. This town is moving forward, with or without you. Derek only chuckled, but Jack could see the tension in his jaw. We'll see about that. You can't escape your past, Jack. He stepped back, letting the door swing wider as he exited, the laughter of the community stark against his departure. The room fell silent, each person taken aback by Derek's intrusion and the abrupt shift in energy. Jack looked around, searching for solace in their faces. He realized, however, that his heart had swiftly shifted from fear to fire. What he said doesn't matter, he found himself saying, conviction rippling through his voice. The past doesn't define us. If we're gonna reshape Maplewood, we need to do it together. Applause slowly built in the room, a swell of encouragement that flooded Jack with a renewed sense of purpose. Trust was being rebuilt, hope was being ignited, and the thread of connection was growing stronger. As conversations resumed, an exhilarating idea sparked in his mind. How about a town hall meeting next week? He proposed. A chance to discuss everything. Openly, just like today. The room buzzed with approval, and for the first time, Jack felt a genuine sense of belonging washing over him. But even as excitement filled the air, he couldn't shake the tight knot in his stomach. Derek's warning echoed ominously, leaving him wondering if the past could truly be laid to rest. Was he strong enough to lead this community while facing impending threats lurking in shadows? Jack needed to know, would this newfound hope withstand the storm? And suddenly, the path to transformation was steeped in uncertainty again. As conversations floated around him, a dark cloud loomed, whispering the question that loomed larger than any: could this community really survive the truth buried beneath the surface? The next few days blurred together, a whirlwind of preparations for the upcoming town hall meeting. Jack felt like he was juggling a million thoughts, each one more chaotic than the last. He thought about the excitement in the room, the rousing approval from everyone, and that nagging voice in the back of his mind, reminding him about Derek's intimidating presence. Emily often found him distracted, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm as she discussed potential projects. One evening, while they set up chairs at the community center, she said softly, "You know, Jack, I really believe in what you're doing. You're making a difference." An appreciative smile broke through Jack's stress. "It's all of us together, Emily. I just hope I can keep it going. Especially with Derek lurking around. Don't let fear win," she encouraged fiercely. "You're not alone in this. You've got a whole community rooting for you." Her words were like a lifeline, and he decided right then that he wouldn't just fight for his own redemption. He would fight for the town he loved. As the night of the town hall meeting approached, Jack's anticipation morphed into anxiety. He could practically feel Derek's shadow creeping closer, paralyzing his thoughts. Jack would stand up there, face the crowd, and dig deep, hoping to unveil the true purpose they all shared. On the evening of the meeting, the community center buzzed with warmth. Neighbors chatted and laughed. Hope hung in the air like a familiar scent. Jack took a deep breath, trying to shake the weight from his shoulders as he positioned himself on the small stage. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled at first. "Thank you all for being here. This is more than a meeting. It's a chance to connect, to share our dreams, and to stand together." He felt a power surge through him as faces nodded, eyes shining with excitement. As conversations sparked about everything from community gardens to arts programs, Jack's heart filled. Then, out of nowhere, the double doors swung open. And there he was again, Derek. The room grew quiet instantly. Jack's heart thudded. "Looks like it's quite the party," Derek drawled, his sunglasses glinting ominously under the lights. "Derek, this isn't to your place," Jack replied, feeling an adrenaline rush mixed with a tinge of fear. We're sharing our hopes, not your games. Derek stepped closer, his presence casting a dark cloud over the gathered crowd. Hopes, huh? Let us not kid ourselves. The moment this town starts rising, I'll be right here. Watch your back. Jack felt a chill that chilled the warmth in the air. The tension wrapped around him, thudding louder than the heartbeat of the gathering. But before another word could escape his mouth, Sarah raised her voice, breaking the silence. This is our town, Derek. You don't get to take that away from us. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, emboldening Jack. He turned to them, seeing their nods and determined expressions. Listen, he shouted back with newfound courage, this is about Maplewood. We will not let fear steer us. We're here to build something beautiful together, no matter who stands in our way. Cheers erupted, applause thundering against the walls of the center, drowning out Derek's fuming presence. Suddenly, the dread that had clung to Jack slipped away, replaced by a powerful current of unity. But even amidst the loud applause, doubt lingered. He looked at the fervor surrounding him, but Derek's words echoed in his mind. What would it take to truly break free from the past? As the meeting continued, Jack's resolve hardened. He was determined to push forward, but the shadows still lurked. Suddenly, he spotted Ted exchanging tense whispers with someone in the back. What was going on there? The community was supposed to be united, yet doubt danced just beyond the lights. Jack felt a sudden shiver, realizing the struggle was far from over. Did they have what it would take to face whatever threats were ahead? Would trust really shield them from the truth waiting in the dark? The answers hung just out of reach, and with every passing moment in that busy room, he could feel an even more profound challenge brewing just beneath the surface. The question echoed louder than before: were they strong enough to confront the storm ahead? The applause faded slowly, but its essence lingered in the air like the soft glow of dusk. Jack looked around the room, taking in the faces that were filled with optimism and determination. Each smile told a story of hope, of dreams being set free, yet his heart was a turbulent sea of unease that he stepped off the small stage, the warmth of community support still enveloping him. People casually approached, their voices bubbling with ideas inspired by what they had just witnessed. Jack nodded along, but his mind was weighed down by Derek's looming threat and the whispers at the back of the room. Ted's secretive conversations felt like shadows in a place meant to shine. Jack, you were amazing up there. Sarah beamed, her cheeks flushed with enthusiasm. You really rallied everyone. We can do this. Thanks, Sarah. But... Jack hesitated, glancing toward Ted again. Did you see him talking to someone? I can't shake the feeling something's off. Let us focus on the momentum we have now, she urged, her optimistic gaze refusing to acknowledge his fears. There's time for worries later, right? We should celebrate. Jack wanted to share her enthusiasm, to let the success of the meeting wash over him completely. But he couldn't ignore the knot tightening in his stomach. He needed to confront this unease, even if it meant piercing the bubble of happiness that surrounded them. Before he could voice his concerns, Emily approached with a determined shine in her eyes. Jack, can we talk about our next steps? I really think we should gather more support for our projects. Perhaps a social media campaign? Yes. A way to keep this energy going. Sarah chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. Yes, but Jack paused, searching for the right words. What if there's something drawing us backward? Derek's got a grip on some parts of this town, and I can't help but feel we're under threat. Emily's look softened. You're right to be cautious. But remember, we're all in this together. Whatever happens, we face it as a team. Tension still danced in the air, and Jack felt the crowd's energy shift, a collective shift that reminded him of his earlier fears. Leaving the meeting would mean stepping back into uncertainty. As comforting as the laughter inside was, reality wouldn't let him escape so easily. As their discussion grew, they noticed a change outside the community center. Heavy clouds gathered overhead, blocking the last rays of sunlight, shadows pooling deeper in the streets. Jack instinctively moved towards the window, his gut tightening. It wasn't just weather, it was a metaphor of what lay ahead. Maybe we should take this energy outdoors, have a rally to boost awareness for our projects? Sarah suggested, oblivious to the ominous skies. Yeah, but Jack said again, the words barely making it past his lips. This time, he was more sure of one thing: they had to be careful, had to stay alert. At that moment, Ted approached, his expression unreadable. Jack, we need to talk. There's something going on, something you need to know. A chill riveted through Jack. He looked to Emily and Sarah, who shared his concern. Whatever Ted had to say, it felt like the prelude to a storm. Let us step outside, Ted murmured. The darkness watched. With cautious hearts, they followed Ted into the growing shadows outside the center. As they stepped across the threshold, the air seemed to thicken with uncertainty, wrapping around them like a thick blanket. What truth awaited them in the gathering darkness? Jack's heart hammered as they began to cross the threshold into what felt like unknown territory, bracing for whatever revelation might emerge. Would it strengthen their resolve or tear them apart? The wind whispered secrets through the trees as Jack, Emily, Sarah, and Ted stepped into the gathering shadows. The chill in the air seemed to seep into their bones, mingling with the uncertainty wrapped around them. Jack felt a sense of urgency course through him, pushing him to demand answers even as dread clawed at his mind. What's going on, Ted? Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper, though his heart thundered like a drum. You have to tell us. Ted looked back at them, his usually steady expression now a mask of concern. I've been hearing rumors about Derek. He's planning something big. Something that could undermine everything we're trying to build here. Jack's pulse quickened. What do you mean, undermine? Is he trying to shut us down? Emily stepped closer. This isn't just about the projects anymore, is it? There's something more? Ted hesitated, glancing back toward the community center, as though he half expected someone to emerge from its comforting light. I can't say for sure what his plan is, but I know he's leveraging his connections. If we don't act fast, we could lose everything we've worked for. The words hung heavy in the damp air. Jack felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. The excitement of the meeting now felt like a distant memory, replaced by a sinking fear. They were facing more than just a battle for their community. They were about to enter a fight for their future. What do we do? Sarah's voice trembled, breaking the silence that hovered between them. Her energy, so bright and hopeful just moments ago, dimmed under the weight of Ted's revelation. We need a plan, Jack said, determination rising within him. We can't let him take this away from us. We have to rally everyone, get the community together before he can tear us apart. But what if it's not enough? Emily interjected, her eyes wide with worry. What if he has more influence than we realize? People don't like to stand against power. Then we remind them that staying silent is its own surrender, Jack replied, his voice steady, masking his fear. We have to remind them that united, we can shake even the strongest foundation. As his words settled in the thickening air, the clouds overhead began to rumble ominously, mirroring the tension among them. Ted raised an eyebrow. You really believe that? I have to, Jack said, meeting Ted's gaze. We can't let him win without a fight. Just then, Emily's phone buzzed in her pocket, slicing through the moment. She pulled it out hurriedly, her eyes widening as she read the screen. It's a message from the group. They want to know what the next step is and they're doing it tonight. The urgency of the moment hit like a bolt of lightning. The darkness pressed in closer, encircling them like a predator, waiting for its chance to pounce. Jack felt a fierce sense of responsibility wash over him. Their next move would be critical. Then we meet them, he said, resolving to act on it. We rally everyone at the park and communicate what is happening. It might be scary, but it's our best chance. As they turned to head toward the park, the sky cracked open with a flash of lightning, illuminating their path for just a heartbeat. Jack's heart raced, knowing they were entering the storm, both literally and figuratively. Would strength emerge in the face of adversity, or would Derek's looming threat shatter their dreams? The answer loomed as bleak as the sky above them, thick with the promise of rain and challenges ahead. What awaited them at that gathering, as dark clouds mirrored their fears, felt like a battle for more than just their community, it felt like a battle for their hearts and identities. As they reached the park, a sudden sound echoed from the treetops. Jack looked up, icy fingers of fear creeping up his spine. A flock of birds took flight, casting silhouettes against the foreboding sky. What else would take flight in the chaos? They needed to brace themselves. The stakes were raised, and the storm was coming. Did they have the courage to face it head-on? The park was buzzing with low murmurs as the group gathered, their faces illuminated by the intermittent flashes of lightning that painted the scene in sharp contrast. Jack scanned the crowd, feeling the weight of their anxious energy. He could see uncertainty on every face, just as he felt it gripping his heart. This was a time to take a stand. "Listen up, everyone!" Jack shouted, raising his voice above the anxious rustle. The crowd slowly turned towards him, their eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and fear. He felt the tension wrap around him like a cloak. "I know things seem daunting right now, but we need to talk about Derek. He is trying to undermine what we've built here." A ripple of alarm went through the crowd. Sarah stepped forward, her breath quickening. "We've heard rumors too. People are worried. What can we do?" Jack took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "We can fight back. We can show Derek that we won't be silenced." Determination surged within him. "This park, this community, it belongs to us. Together, we are stronger than any threat." The crowd started to murmur. Jack's heart raced, and he could see some nodding, while others looked doubtful. "What if he goes after our jobs? What if he destroys all our projects?" A voice called out from the back. "Then we fight for our jobs. We fight for our dreams and not let fear dictate our future," he asserted, his voice rising with resolve. "Derek may have power, but he doesn't have what we have, each other." Emily stepped forward and placed a hand on Jack's shoulder, her eyes sparkling with hope. "We need to remind everyone of our strengths. Let us highlight the successes we've had together. Community gardens, after-school programs, our projects matter." Jack nodded, his mind racing through a list of successes they could share. "Yes. We can set up meetings, host town halls, distribute flyers. We need to rally everyone, bring them together to strategize and show Derek we stand united." Just then, thunder cracked above them, as if championing their fight. The weather matched their fervor, and in that stormy moment, Jack felt invigorated. He could sense a shift in the crowd, their fears slowly morphed into a flicker of rebellion. People began to talk among themselves, and for the first time, Jack saw glimpses of hope. "Let us make signs!" shouted a girl from the back, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "We should march to the city council and demand a meeting." "That's it," Jack said, excitement bubbling inside him. "Let us plan a community rally for next week and show up together. We'll make ourselves heard." The crowd erupted into whispers of agreement, the tension now tinged with a newfound energy. As Jack observed the small moments of empathy and encouragement shared among neighbors, a warm sensation spread throughout his chest. But then he noticed Ted, standing slightly apart, his face shadowed with uncertainty. Jack walked over, concern tightening his stomach. "What's wrong?" "I'm just worried," Ted confessed. "What if it doesn't work? What if Derek has a bigger plan?" "Then we adapt," Jack replied firmly. "It's about taking a stand. We cannot let fear paralyze us. If we fight with everything we have, we'll stab back at the heart of his influence. We can't back down now." Just then, the sky unleashed a torrential downpour, catching everyone off guard. They scrambled for shelter under nearby trees, laughter and exclamations blending with the sound of raindrops drumming against leaves. In that moment, Jack realized the storm was a fitting metaphor for the brewing conflict. As they huddled together, Jack felt a sense of unity forming, not just against Derek, but as a community. "We'll meet again tomorrow," he announced over the rain, his own voice growing stronger. "This is just the beginning." And as they began to disperse, a sense of purpose ignited in Jack's heart. But was he strong enough to lead them through the storm ahead? All he could do was hope. The feeling of impending struggle loomed larger than the rain clouds above. What other challenges awaited them as they headed into this fight? They were gathering momentum, but could they keep it from slipping away? The next chapter of their story was just starting, and the answers lay ahead, shrouded in darkness and uncertainty. The air was thick with anticipation as the crowd dispersed, their chatter fading into the rhythm of rain, like a heartbeat steadying itself. Jack stood under the tree, its leaves forming a makeshift roof, and watched as his fellow community members hurried away, some laughing, some frowning, all buzzing with thoughts of the battle ahead. Emily stayed by his side, her arm brushing against his in a gesture of solidarity. "You really fired them up," she said, brushing a wet strand of hair behind her ear. "They believe in what we can do. Just hope they don't forget it by tomorrow," Jack replied, his voice tinged with doubt. People's resolve can wane fast, especially when the weight of fear bears down on them. "I just need to figure out how to keep their spirits alive. Let us focus on what we can do right now," she said with a hint of determination. "Maybe we should draft that flyer tonight. Make a plan while the adrenaline is still pumping." "Great idea," he nodded, feeling a flicker of hope ignite. "We can list our strengths, our accomplishments. We need them to see what we're capable of when we come together." With the rain pouring harder, they took shelter in the little cafe just a block away. The warmth inside enveloped them as steaming mugs of coffee were ordered, their essence mingling with the smell of baked goods. As they settled in a cozy corner, Emily pulled out her phone and an old notebook. "Let us brainstorm a bit," Emily suggested, tapping her fingers eagerly on the table. Jack wasn't used to this kind of pacing, sharing ideas in the middle of a brewing storm both outside and within him. All he could think of were the obstacles Derek had thrown into their path. But as they began to jot down ideas for their flyer, he felt a dose of clarity. "Okay," he said, "what about centering our message on community strength? We can tell stories of how the park has changed lives." "Exactly," Emily cheered. "People respond to stories. They remember feelings more than facts." They worked passionately, sharing stories about the garden that blossomed under their care and the kids who found acceptance in the after-school programs. Laughter bubbled between them, and for the first time that evening, they both allowed themselves to envision a brighter outcome. But as the atmosphere inside the cafe shifted from hopeful to speculative, another shadow crept into Jack's mind. What if Derek tries something drastic? What if he pits our neighbors against each other? Emily looked at him with a steady gaze. "Then we make sure they remember why they stood together in the first place. This is our community. Fear can't win if we stay united." Her words were soothing yet fierce, and he found strength in her conviction, hanging on to it like a lifeline. Outside, the rain began to taper off, but in Jack's chest, anxiety twisted tighter. Goals and dreams danced before him, fragile like morning dew. "We need every voice involved in this," he said slowly. "I have this gut feeling that some people might be still on the fence. What if we could create an event that appealed to everyone in our community?" "I love it!" Emily exclaimed, her excitement infectious. "A fun day at the park. A potluck, games, a rally. We invite everyone to come together in a celebration of what we've built, and in the midst of that, give them the tools to fight, if they need to." "That's it," Jack said, a smile breaking through the tension. "Let us mix solidarity with celebration. If we can remind them of the community spirit, Derek won't stand a chance. We'll be too strong together." They spent hours planning, working quietly while other cafe patrons drifted in and out. Ideas flowed easily now, laughter punctuating their focus. When the sun set, the cafe's lights twinkled around them, and amidst the warm laughter from the other tables, Jack felt his fears shrink away. The plan solidified, but just as self-doubt threatened to linger, a loud crash echoed outside. A metal sign from the cafe tumbled down, its blunt noise cutting through their bubble of positivity. Jack jolted upright, heart racing. "What was that?" Emily turned toward the window, worry flickering in her eyes. "I don't know, but it doesn't feel right," Jack muttered, unease creeping back in. "What if Derek decided to make a move before our rally?" He leaned in closer to the window, and just outside he caught the glint of a familiar figure lurking in the shadows, a stark reminder that while they were busy preparing, Derek was likely plotting his next move. Was this the moment Derek would try to strike back? What would this mean for everyone who had begun to rally around Jack's leadership? The storm was far from over, and as they braced for whatever lay ahead, Jack realized that the real battle had only just begun. The day of the community rally had arrived, and Maplewood seemed to buzz with a nervous energy that mirrored the weather. Gray clouds loomed overhead, threatening rain, but the air was thick with determination. Jack stood in the park, heart racing as he set up tables, chairs, and an inflatable bounce house for the kids. He could feel the weight of everyone's expectations pressing on his shoulders. Emily and Sarah were off in the corner, organizing volunteers to set up food stations. Laughter erupted now and then, comforting sounds easing the tension in Jack's heart. Yet beneath it all, dread lingered. Derek had lost none of his capacity for chaos, and Jack knew his scheming wouldn't stay hidden forever. As families trickled in, Jack spotted Ted in the crowd, talking animatedly with neighbors he hadn't seen in years. That sight filled him with warmth. People were ready to embrace this change. Okay, he whispered to himself. Let us do this. A gentle drizzle began, but umbrellas blossomed open, colorful flowers in the gray. The atmosphere felt alive, electric with possibility. Jack stepped up onto the small platform he had constructed, calling for attention. Everyone! Can I get your ears for a second? His voice rang out despite the murmurs. He took a deep breath, pushing away the fear lodged in his throat. Thank you all for being here. This isn't just about today, this is about our future. Together, we can build a stronger Maplewood, and we won't let anyone intimidate us. His heart raced as applause broke out, and for a moment, the world around him felt bright. Children squealed as they jumped into the bounce house, laughter spilling over like water from a jar. With every cheerful face, his anxiety eased. This was their community, filled with potential. As Jack resumed speaking, he heard Derek's name whispered among the crowd. Let us not forget why we are gathered. We need to remind each other what makes our town strong. And defeating fear starts with standing together. Suddenly, a familiar figure broke through the crowd. It was Derek, arms crossed and sunglasses perched against his forehead. The energy shifted. Conversations turned hushed, and a chill ran through the air. Jack's pulse quickened. He couldn't let Derek's presence derail everything they'd worked for. Derek! He called out, forcing confidence through the nerves. We're meeting as a community. Do you have something to say? Derek stepped closer, an air of menace weaving around him. Meeting or not, I'd suggest you think about what you're doing. You're wasting your time, Jack. People don't change, and neither will you. The crowd tensed, eyes darting between Jack and Derek. No, Derek, you're wrong, Jack countered, determination pouring out of him. People do change, and you must be afraid because you've seen it too. You're on the outside looking in. This is a chance for all of us to rise. Slow murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Jack's heart surged, fueled by their unspoken support. He felt that the power of unity blossoming like the flowers around them. Derek scoffed, but Jack didn't back down. We won't bow to fear. We will gather together as neighbors and friends, rising above anything you throw our way. Show me, Derek challenged, his tone dripping with skepticism. What will you do? Rally a fun day at the park? This is not Fantasyland, Jack. It is Fantasyland for you, because that's where you think community lives as your playground, not ours. But I'll show you. We're not giving up. Jack knew he had them now. The energy crackled with rebellion. Suddenly, Emily stepped forward, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. This is our home. We need to come together, and nothing will stand in our way. We belong here. Rihanna's lyrics rang in his ears together. We can rise. The crowd erupted into cheers, clamoring for change, a wave of shared strength washing over them all. They were no longer just faces in a crowd. They were a living entity, the heartbeat of Maplewood. Jack felt the weight on his shoulders ease as he joined in the roar. In that moment, Jack remembered the little girl, Emily, swinging alone in front of the center, tears on her cheeks. This was for her and for everyone who needed a place to thrive, safe from the shadows of doubt. Derek stood, speechless, as the tide turned against him. He was a distant storm cloud in a world bursting with sunlight and laughter. Desperate, Derek stepped back into the shadows, the crowd's energy swirling around him, leaving him behind. With Derek fading from sight, Jack found himself surrounded by friends and neighbors, faces lighting up with hope. He felt the tide of change sweeping over Maplewood, a tangible air of resilience binding them together. In the days that followed, Jack watched as the community mobilized. From potlucks to street cleanups and fundraising efforts, they came alive, breathing life back into the center and back into each other. Emily led the charge, her enthusiasm spreading through the younger generation, igniting their imaginations. Weeks later, as Jack stood in front of the revitalized community center, he felt a full heart, tears of joy welling in his eyes. Every face around him was familiar, filled with happiness and purpose. Seeing Emily, radiant and proud, made every hardship worth it. She beamed, "Isn't it beautiful?" And he smiled back, knowing they had created something everlasting together. This was their transformation. They had chosen love over fear, community over division. Maplewood had become a beacon of hope, and Jack realized that, for the first time, he felt at home. The storm had passed, and they had emerged stronger, connection forging their futures. Jack looked at the faces around him, love and laughter spilling out like vivid confetti. "Let us keep building," Jack said, filled with renewed determination. "What we have here is just the beginning. Are you with me?" The crowd roared as one. This was their town, and they were ready for whatever came next. And as the sun broke through the clouds, casting vibrant rays across their joyous faces, Jack knew that they would face the future together, united and unbroken. Now is your chance to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire heart and courage. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread positivity, because your support means everything to us. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending. What did you find most inspiring? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how love can transform communities. Only true fans understand the importance of sharing the journey. Let us keep this energy alive,